Hello, Hayes. I've always had a few close friends, but I've never been part of a big friend group. I'm 50 years old and sometimes wonder if I've missed out on something special. My friends all seem to have their own groups, and I don't entirely understand why I haven't been included in something like that. It would mean a lot to hear your thoughts on this topic. How do these dynamics work? Is there something I can do to find a sense of belonging within a larger circle of friends? Yours left out of the group. I have to say that I spent like half an hour this morning searching for this message. It was sent to me many months ago, and I remember when I saw it, I was like, I love the scope of this question. I love how it's not so specific but just representative of a larger theme. I feel like many of the letters I get are from people in their early 20s to early 30s, so one of the things I feel very proud of is that the people who listen to the show and who follow Hello Hayes are anywhere from 17 years old to in their 50s. So I feel really proud of that. And I lost it. Like, I lost the letter. I couldn't find it. And I'm so disorganized. Like, I have a million Google Docs. And whenever I sit down to pick out a letter, I often like go into my inbox and I pull like six of them that I might be interested in answering. And then I look at the six of them and then I decide on one. And I knew that I had put this letter somewhere. And I tried searching my inbox and I couldn't find it. And then I was searching through all my Google Docs and trying all these different search terms. And then I finally did in my email drafts. And I'm so glad I found it. Because this topic of friend groups is something I both don't think about at all because the problem of it feels kind of distant from my life, but it also is something I think about kind of a lot. And how can both of those things be true? How can you not think about something at all, but then feel like you think about it a lot? And maybe it's that I don't think about it very often, but when it does come to mind, it feels really intense, or like it brings up a lot of emotion. And maybe it brings up a lot of self-doubt. And maybe just the intensity of the feeling or how close to home the feeling hits makes it feel like it happens more frequently, if that makes sense. Anyway, I appreciate the question, and I want to start off by saying that I don't think there's anything wrong with you if you have never been a part of a friend group. I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting thing to think about why and what it says about you, kind of in a positive way. Not in like a, what does it say about you that you're not in friend group? I don't mean it like that. But I think it is an interesting thing to think about. But there's definitely nothing wrong with you. And I'm not sure if you're missing out on anything, though I understand why you feel like you might be. I think the way friend groups are presented, both in media, but also in social media, like when you're just looking at strangers and especially around the holidays at their Friendsgivings or whatever, just big holiday parties. And it appears like, wow, look at all of these people who are laughing around the table together. What must that be like? I say it's interesting that you've never felt that way because my experience with friend groups, like the times I've been in a friend group, were so school related, I guess. I think I've been in 3 or 4 friend groups. There was the middle school friend group, the first one that ended badly. And then there was the next middle school friend group that turned into my high school friend group. And then there was my first college friend group that lasted around a year and also ended in a friendship breakup that kind of ruined everything between me and someone else. And then my kind of final college friend group, which I'm still friends with not everybody that was in that friend group, but there was never like a major falling out. I just don't really identify as being a part of the group anymore. And I don't know if any of them really would say they were part of a group. We'd probably, or I guess I speak for myself. I would refer to it as like, oh, my college group of friends, but we don't often do things. We all live in different places now and we've developed individual relationships. And it's not like, I'm not like, oh, that's my friend group. It's more like, oh, that was my college friend group. And now these are some of my individual friends. Anyway, all of those times that I was in a friend group, it was sort of like a means of survival. Like you were in a friend group because that's just what you did. And I think it's kind of cool to have resisted that in some way. And especially, you said that you've always had a few close friends. I think it's I think that there's probably something that you've known about yourself, or maybe it's even like there's always been maybe you've had a sense of confidence that you've been able to maintain or have these individual friendships even when you were younger, and it was maybe more of the norm to kind of want to cling on to other people for dear life. If you didn't do that, I kind of think that's really cool. So maybe just one way to reframe it. Um, but maybe I want to kind of challenge myself to be, I want to challenge myself to be like honest about the friend group stuff. Because I think that I have a lot of, I sometimes wonder about the like defenses that I have up about this topic that I might not even be aware of. So I want to try to talk about this in a really honest, I always try to talk honestly, but I want to challenge myself right now to think more deeply and truthfully. And like if I could peel back a few layers of the onion about what it feels like to not be in a friend group. So when I say that I'm not in a friend group, I guess that's true. Like I don't feel, and some of it maybe is because of where I live. Like I sort of am a transplant somewhere and I've made friends here. And like, I, maybe I am in some friend groups. And it could be interesting for you to ask yourself, if you're someone who says you're not in a friend group, maybe is there a level to which you are rejecting that label, but it might actually be true? So, for an example of my life, one of my closest friends here lives around the corner. One of my closest friends here lives around the corner. She's one of the first friends I made here through a mutual friend, and she's introduced me to a couple of her friends. I guess you could call that a friend group. I guess you could call that a friend group, but it isn't. I guess I don't associate it as a friend group because when I think of a friend group, it's like, oh, we all are in a text chain and we're constantly talking and we're regularly having girls' dinners. And I could hang out with, oh, interesting. I was going to say I could hang out with any of you one on one and it would be fine. But actually, if I think back to what it was like being in a friend group, that wasn't true. Like when I was in friend groups, there usually were a couple of people who you'd hang out with one on one. But if you ever had to be one on one with somebody else, it was kind of awkward and maybe you avoided it. It's interesting to think if my former past experience with friend groups makes me reject the label more than reject like the reality of being in one. I always felt, here's why I don't think you're missing out. Here's why I don't think you're missing out. You know, you asked how do these dynamics work? Everybody's going to have a different experience with this, but my memory of being in a friend group was it was very, there were extreme ups and downs. Now, also, so much of my last friend group that I really remember being a part of was in college. So it also was the dynamic of all of us living together, which I think does change the friend group feeling. Or even after college, it's like some people were living together and other people weren't. I think when you're roommates, it makes everything feel a little bit more intense. But there were extreme ups and downs. I also am a very introverted person, and I think I found it hard to balance my own emotions and feelings and need for downtime, and need for one-on-one relationships and need for deep conversation and vulnerability. I think I found it hard to do that in a friend group. Friend groups for me, large friend groups for me, always, there was sort of a level of fakeness that I couldn't escape. And even in some friend groups that I've observed that are like great and healthy and thriving, and I've been friends for 20 years, there's like some level of dishonesty that's there. And I find that hard to be around. And it sounds very judgmental and holier than thou, but I don't even really mean it that way because I think it's sort of like in any family, there's some level of like things that you don't talk about or things that you'll say to one person but you won't say to other. I think even in close relationships, close good relationships, there can be kind of some dynamics that are maybe not the best. But I found there to be like a level of competition or like secrecy or pressure in friend groups that was really hard for me to manage. And that might say more about me than it does about the other people in the group. in a friend group, I often felt lost. I often felt like I felt more focused on wanting to fit in, or whoever kind of was like the leader of the group, wanting to make sure I didn't do anything to get rejected by them. I found myself just more consumed with how other people were like perceiving me, or how I was being accepted by the group or rejected by the group, rather than just like being in touch with myself and liking myself. And some of that might have to do with age. I think at 32, the way I behave in a group of friends and the way I feel about myself in a group of friends is going to be different than when I was 21, 22, 23. Naturally, I've grown up a lot since then. I also think that there's some rules when you're in a group, and I don't like rules. I don't like having to make decisions based on what arbitrary dynamics are at play here. Sorry, guys, I just took a deep breath. I feel like I'm not doing a good job today. Ugh, why is that? Why does that happen sometimes? It's funny. I think because this topic makes me a little self-conscious maybe, and it's getting me a little tripped up on my words, and I'm having trouble articulating what I think or what I feel and staying on topic. Okay, so how can I reel this back in? I think I don't want to, in wanting to be honest, I think there's sometimes a fear of being misunderstood. And I'm curious in how I can feel both really confident in the types of friendships that I invest in now, but then also feel sad sometimes that my friendships don't look the way other people's friendships seem to look. And I wonder if the thing about friend groups is that they promise something. Like the idea of having a big friend group means something separate from what it actually looks like and feels like. But I think it promises belonging. If you're in a big friend group that everybody loves each other, I think it promises some level of like, I'm going to be happy forever. I'm going to be accepted. People are going to be interested in me. I'm going to have support. I'm going to have community. A friend group kind of promises all of these things that a lot of us really search for and really yearn for and really want. And the idea of having a friend group almost like promises it. It's a fake promise though, I think. Not for everybody, but it's almost like the idea means something than the reality. And my truth is that I have found belonging and safety and acceptance in one-on-one friendships. And I guess though that doesn't mean just because I'm confident in those friendships and I love those friendships doesn't mean that I've given up on that like utopian idea. Like when I close my eyes, I'd be lying if I said it doesn't sound awesome to like live in a town where I have like 5 incredible friends and we all hang out together and like we have weekly dinners or people can just pop by. Like one of the things, I really miss about living in New York City is being able, like the spontaneous nature of being able to see your friends. But that wasn't true in a friend group. Like what brings tears to my eyes is not the feeling of being the spontaneity of hanging out with my friend group. It's being able to text one of my friends and meet up with them and have like an amazing dinner and drinks at the bar with them after a long day of work. That's what I miss. And different people, I guess, require different things or want different things. And if you have never had a friend group, but you feel fulfilled in your close friendships, I think it's normal to wonder about what it's like for those other types of people, but I don't think you're missing out. Because we could all, if we chose to look at it that way, wouldn't we all, there's always something we're going to be missing out on. Because there's always going to be aspects of our life. There's always going to be things that are true for other people and their social dynamics that are not true for us. And if we looked at everything we don't have as a missed opportunity, well, that would be really sad. I think it's fine to feel curious about it and to wonder, but I hope that the wondering can end there. Because I don't think you're missing out on something that's suggestive of like a flaw of you. Like I don't think the fact that you've never been a part of a friend group means you are flawed. or that something's wrong with you, or that you're, rejecting friendship, or any of those things. It could mean that you haven't put yourself in an opportunity to be included in a group. Like, it could mean that you're being closed off, or that maybe you haven't shown interest in other people's friends. Like, if you do want to experiment with what it's like to be in a friend group, you could do things like, you have a few close friends individually, you could invite them all over. You could host a dinner party where you invite your friends and you ask them to invite one of their friends. And that's actually kind of a fun idea. I'm not sure if I would ever do that, but but if I was interested in fostering more of a group community feeling among friends, that could be kind of fun. It's like a friend potluck. I think most of the friend groups that I have been included in now are like, I meet one person, like in LA. There's 2 different friend groups that I'm thinking of now. I've met one person and then they have invited me to a dinner with the other friends. Or maybe I was friends with one person and then I go to an event or I go to some party and the other friends are there. And then I'm added to the text group. And then suddenly we make plans for dinner, the 4 of us, the 3 of us. That's how, I guess, the groups, I'm putting it in quotes, the friend groups that maybe I'm a part of now, that's how they've progressed. And sometimes I'm suggesting dinner. Sometimes I'm sending text to the group. It's funny because I guess that could be considered being in a friend group. I'm like, what even is a friend group? I'm finding as I'm talking through this that I think I might have been really associating friend group with this one type of social dynamic of my past, like the friend group that was in college. And I understand why I feel that way, because I think a lot of college friend groups persist, or a lot of people, on social media, like people I don't know, but that I follow. I'm like, how the fuck do you have all of these friends? Or like, how do you have friends who are all friends with each other? And like, how does this happen? But maybe their priorities are different than mine. And maybe you can ask yourself, what have been your priorities? I think maybe some people, a priority for them is going out and building a large group of friends and feeling like connected to a lot of different people and wanting to then bridge those connections so that they are invited to big dinners and they do know everybody at the party. That hasn't been my priority. And maybe it hasn't been your priority. And I don't think that means that's bad, but it could explain. I have not done much in my late 20s to 30s to like be a part of a group like that. I'm lucky that I have naturally made friends who then want to invite me places and who want to invite me to their like small dinner party. And I then return the favor by inviting them to my small dinner parties when I've had them. I'm lucky that some of that has just happened naturally, but maybe it's happened naturally for you too. And you just haven't been thinking about that as a friend group. And you don't need to think about it as a friend group, but if it's been making you feel bad about yourself, maybe you just need to reframe the friendships that you do have in your life and realize that they could actually be considered a group. You ask, is there something I can do to find a sense of belonging within a larger circle of friends? And I don't know if it's necessary. Yes, I think there are things you can do, but I don't know if you must. I'd go back to that idea that I suggested of think about people who you already feel belonging with and then try to maybe introduce all of them. And it won't become a friend group overnight, and it honestly might never become a friend group, but you could start to test the waters with people that you're already comfortable with by creating that group feel. I think there probably is something special about having a group of friends that has lasted a really long time and you all genuinely love each other and you all genuinely feel very connected to each other. I think there is definitely something special about that. And just because you don't have it within a group where everybody feels that way about each other doesn't mean you don't have the same special thing with other individual people. And maybe that's a question. It's like, is this an issue of not feeling long-lasting connections with anybody? Or is it really focused on you don't have it with a group and that's making you feel some self-doubt or making you feel some insecurity? I think the times that I feel, it doesn't bother me so much anymore, but it used to be really, my high school friend group mostly all lives back in the state that I grew up in, all kind of in the same area, and they're all having kids around the same time. And even I was just catching up with one of my oldest and best friends on FaceTime the other day, and she was saying how they were having, I think they all came to her house, that she was having everybody, all in their families over for the holidays. And I've gotten used to this now. Like it's been like almost 10 years since everybody graduated college and kind of moved back to the area. So I've gotten used to the fact that I don't live there and I'm not friends with them anymore. But it's still, there are moments when I see pictures of all of my high school friends together with their babies and they're kissing each other's babies. And I'm like, wow, is something wrong with me that I didn't want that? Because I think that has to be acknowledged. It's like, I haven't made an effort to be a part of that. I haven't chosen to live there. And even when I'm home, I don't make an effort to be a part of that. And I intentionally distanced myself from it when I went to college. And part of that's because I don't think I felt fully comfortable in a group. It's like, why was I always rejecting this idea of a group? And I think I was trying to listen to something in myself where I felt best with individual people there and never in the group at large. I didn't feel like I was the best friend I could be when I was in that dynamic. But I see pictures sometimes and I'm like, that's really special that they have that with each other. And it makes me sad that I don't. Now, the moment of looking at pictures and feeling sad the moment of looking at pictures and being like that's sad that I'm not there, it's very fleeting. And I don't think it's actually representative of it's fleeting. I think it's real and it's fleeting, but it's momentary. It doesn't last forever. And that doesn't mean it's not true, but it's not the dominating way I feel. And if it was the dominant way I feel, then I would do something differently about it. But it's a choice I made and it's a choice I can live with. And it's sort of a choice. Is it a choice I'm proud of? It's a choice I feel neutral about. But I am at times envious that type of life, if I was a different person, like could have been mine. But that's the key. It was never going to be mine because I am who I am. And I was never going to fit in that way. Because I didn't fit in when I was 16 or 17, and I'm not going to fit in that way when I'm 32. And if I had no close friendships, and if people were always confronting me about some behavior, and I was constantly, if I was the girl who never had any friends, I would then need to look at myself and be like, am I doing something to lead to that? And I think that there probably were things I was doing that made it so that I wasn't, as I said, like, I don't think that being in a large friend group, and I'm talking like, 8 to 12 people, I don't think that dynamic brought out the best in me. It brought out insecurities in me, which when I was really young, in my like late teens, would make me not always be the thoughtful friend that I am. I think I've said this before. It's really hard to be a good friend to people who you don't really want to be friends with. It's hard to be a good friend when you're in a situation that you don't really want to be in. I think it makes sense to both be sad and to feel envious about a life that was never really going to be yours because it looks really pretty on camera. It looks really pretty on camera. So I really relate to that. And I think it's normal to feel both things. To feel some sadness, but also to feel like it is what it is, and to feel grateful for the friendships that you do have. I said it before, but I'll say it again. If you do feel like you've never been in a friend group, you've never experienced it, you want to experience it for yourself, you have agency and you can start to try to build one. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you have a few close friends, invite them all over. That's step one. Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to start with baby steps, and you can be the person who brings everyone together under your terms. And who knows, like, it's never too late. 50 years old is certainly not too late. In fact, maybe in your 50s is the perfect time to build a friend group because you're wiser. And maybe some of the, maybe some of the pettiness of your youth that plagued the group friendships that I don't always think about so fondly, like maybe that's gone. Though honestly, from the 50-year-olds or the women who are older than me, are 10 plus years older than me that I've spoken with. That's not always the case. I think when I was younger, I used to think that when you grow up, like people are just going to be nicer to each other and there's not going to be this drama. But people who create drama often continue to create drama. Not nice people often continue to be not nice people. Not all the time. People can change and people can learn. But sometimes the girl who was mean in high school continues to be mean at 40. That's not a positive note to end on, but the positive note I will end on is that it's never too late. So if there's an experience in friendship that you want to have that you haven't had yet, start building it yourself. All right, that's it for our advice letter portion. And now on to some housekeeping. It is December 1st today, which is freaking crazy. I can't believe that it's almost the end of the year. Don't get me started on how fast time is moving. You guys know how I feel about time, and I don't want to think too much about both all that happened this year and all that didn't happen this year, but that's maybe a topic for another time, because I'm actually very proud of this year, so maybe I should just kind of stand firmly in that. But I did want to tell you that I am doing Vlogmas this year. And if you don't know what Vlogmas is, it's an old YouTube tradition where vloggers on YouTube would do daily vlogs the 25 days leading up to Christmas. But it's sort of become popular off of YouTube as well and on other social media channels. And I decided that I'm going to do it, that I am doing it. 25 days of daily vlogging. And it's kind of an insane task. I was talking with Brian yesterday. We drove up to Malibu and I was talking to him about why I think it's a good idea and why I thought maybe it was a bad idea. And the main reason I thought it was maybe a bad idea is because I wasn't sure how I could pull off the logistics. And I am still, right? It's only day one. I am still worried about how it will impact the other things I care about, namely my writing project that I'm working on. I really don't want to lose momentum there. And at least 3 days a week, I have like a few hours blocked off on my calendar where I sit down and I write and I don't do anything else. And unfortunately, my brain, once I start doing social media stuff, making a video, posting a video, it sort of hijacks my brain, and it's really hard for me to switch into the mode that is required for me to write. For me to do my writing project in particular. I can write other things, but like to do the focused excavation work that's required for that project, like once I've been on the internet, my brain kind of can't go to the place it needs to. So that's a concern of mine, like undertaking a daily video project, like how's it going to impact my other stuff? But the reason I decided to do it, and that I'm going to creating some systems and I'll be flexible with myself and all of that. But the reason I decided to do it is because I think it's a great creative container to find my voice in a new video format. I'm sharing it with you in case you are looking to find your voice in something new too, whether it's a creative project or something at work, or you're just trying to you want to express yourself in a new way. There's something inside of you that feels like, oh, I have something to say here, or I'm called to make this type of thing, or I'm called to participate in this kind of way, but I don't know how, and I don't know how to get started, and I don't know if I'm going to be good at it. The only way you find your voice is by practicing using it. I really love watching vlogs, and I have a very clear idea. I have like a vision in my head of what my vlogs can be like and how I can combine the way other people vlog that I really love with some of the themes and the topics that I really like to talk about, and like the feelings work I do. I feel like one of the special things about this community here is how we create space to talk about our feelings. And I just have this, I've had this great idea, and I've had this idea for a year now, let's call it. But when I only practice once a month or twice a month, it's not enough to figure out how to do it. And when you're not really practicing all that much, I find that you're just more disappointed repeatedly in how your output, the product, isn't matching the level of it's not matching your taste. It's not matching what you know you can do what you know you can do. There's like a big gap. between what you make and what you know you can be. And the 25, by vlogging, by practicing vlogging for 25 days in a row, I'm going to figure out my voice. Like, that is what it takes. And if I think back to when I started the Hello Hayes advice videos, even, I didn't know how to do them when I first started at all. But I made them every day for months. I think I made them every day for at least a month before they started really taking off before I started to see, before I feel like I found my voice. That's what I should say, not taking off, before I feel like I found my voice. And I want to do that now. And I know that the only way to find my voice is by practicing. So I thought this is a really fun container for me to find my voice. And that feels really exciting, that if I can do this, and I will do it, that by the end of it, I might have figured out how to do this new format, this new thing that I'm excited about. And it's scary and it requires like some patience. I was talking with my therapist last week about this, about how for me to get to the next like place in my career and where I want to be with, I think I like avoided social media for a long time, even though social media is an important part of my career and my goals. I avoided it for lots of reasons. I'm ready to not avoid it now. But for me to get to the next part for me to get to where I want to go, I'm going to have to practice and I'm going to have to try new things. And I'm going to have to try new things publicly. And sometimes I was telling her, it feels really embarrassing. Like, it feels embarrassing sometimes to not have it all figured out. And I was saying to her, I just need to, what was I saying? I'm like, I know that for me to do this, I just have to get over failing. I just have to get over nobody liking what I'm doing. I have to get over. And it was also like externalized. I'm going to have to get over what other people think of me. And she was like, she corrected me, or like reframed it for me and said, you need to have more compassion for yourself. It's like, you need to have more compassion in this making process and more patience for yourself. And it's not about getting better at other people's reactions. It's about you being kinder and more curious about what this exploration is going to be. So that's my hope here in doing this. And I'm sure it's going to be hard, and I have to figure out like some of the logistics and like when am I going to film and tape and post, and am I going to post it the same day, or am I going to post it in the morning? And I have to figure out some of that, and hilarious that I'm figuring it out on day one when maybe the smarter thing is to figure it out before, but hey, we're here. But I'm grateful that there's like a container that other people are doing also. It's kind of like NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month in November. It's like fun to do something when other people are doing it too. And the goal is for me to get better and for me to learn and for me to have fun, and hopefully other people like it as well. But I'm excited about it. And I think December, I know in the new year is when a lot of people set goals, but I think that this month is actually a great month to kind of recommit yourself to something that you believe in, or something that you're excited about, or a hope for yourself. Like, recommit to that creative practice, or recommit to using your voice in some way that you believe that you can. And I just want to remind you and remind me that like, you have to practice. We will never get to where you want to go. You'll never be the person you know you are unless you practice becoming them. So all of that's to say, please tune in to my Vlogmas. Some people do Vlogmas like very holiday themed. Obviously, it's like a pun on Christmas. Probably should have led with that. If you didn't catch that, so sorry. Some of mine might be holiday themed, but I'm going to figure it out as I go. Please tune in. Give it your support if you're so inclined. Toss me your likes and your comments and your encouragement. And if you have any ideas or feedback, I'd love to hear it. I'll still be making other types of videos as well, but I'm really, really excited for this kind of next chapter and for me to figure out my special sauce in this space. Okay, I appreciate you all. I feel like this was really messy today. I halfway through went over to Brian and was like, I'm just having a hard time today, but that happens sometimes. Hopefully you got something too. I feel like there should still be But that happens sometimes. So forgiveness and trust that there's still value even in messiness. I'll see you next week. I love you, and I hope you have a great first week of December. Cheers to Vlogmas.